To mark today's anniversary, Life Books has published D-Day Remembering the Battle That Won the War 70 years later. It includes an essay from CBS News presidential historian Douglas Brinkley. He writes, quote, "Of all the days in the 20th century, none were more consequential than June 6, 1944. Other nominees flattened when one asked, what if D-Day had failed?" Douglas Brinkley is with us in Studio 57. Welcome.
Thanks for having me.
Why? What were the consequences and how did this change World War II?
We had no plan B. Everything was being thrown at the coast of Normandy and those 5 beaches. If we had been turned back in the English Channel, President Roosevelt was going to have to accept the resignation of Dwight Eisenhower. He was going to have to start rethinking at a time when the Germans were developing a nuclear capacity, where there was a mad race going on. So who knows how the world would have turned out if D-Day wasn't the grand success it was.
The D-Day invasion broke the German occupation. What was behind this military operation, the greatest, perhaps, military operation of all time, the planning?
You know that old Vince Lombardi saying, attack your opponent at their strongest spot. Point to Hoc there, the cliffs, if you go and you see the pillboxes with the big 155 millimeter blasting guns, or where they were pointed, was not the place that Rommel thought the Allies would hit. It just was very fortified. So there were softer spots that the Germans were monitoring more closely, and we couldn't do a lot of pre-aerial bombing of the sites at Point de Hoc and the beaches there, because we'd be saying, this is the spot we're trying to soften. The degree of secrecy of all this is of endless fascination the more you read about the deceptions.
I mean, I just think about the scale of this, and these pictures capture some of it, but 160,000 Allied troops along a 50-mile stretch. We'll never see an invasion like that again.
Google Map would be telling everybody where everything was. You wouldn't be able to have
in the new era of
Armada.
Drones and F-16s. There'll never be something like that.
Cyberspace.
And so, yeah, there's nothing like it.
Here's what's interesting to me. If you were 18 years old, a senior in high school, and you were there that day, you're 88 years old today.
That's right.
So we're beginning to see the end of that generation that came ashore that day.
That's the key point about the 70th. We're not sure how many of the vets will be alive for the 75th. Now, when it was of course, it was June 6, 44. In 54, President Eisenhower stayed at Camp David and said, I want nothing to do with this. And
why do you say that?
Because he was so with the old school, greatest generation kind of, I'm not going to grandstand. He didn't have image makers, but
it wasn't really till Reagan, right?
Right, because LBJ had promised after Kennedy's assassination, I'm not going to go abroad for a year. So he didn't go, and Nixon had Watergate in 74. Reagan claimed D-Day.
We're seeing Dwight Eisenhower there with the troops before they left. He had written a letter that would be read if, in fact, the invasion failed.
Yes, that one of the most moving documents, I think, in all of American history. Eisenhower's admitting failure at Normandy, taking full-bore responsibility, forcing FDR, who doesn't get enough credit. FDR was masterful in the days leading up to this as president, but FDR would have had to create a whole new scenario. We put everything on this number.
All right. Douglas Brinkley, wonderful to have you here.
Thank you, Laura.
Thank you.